Good afternoon, carriers and brokers. This is John Cantera, the double broker bounty hunter and host of Stop the Scam, coming to you with a special report through the Lounge Media Group. Earlier today, we posted a live initial report on Carrier411 and their recent declaration of war against carriers. So the purpose of this video is to then go into the details behind this declaration of war, what it is that Carrier 411 is doing, and what the implications can be for the industry as these new policies go into effect. It is still absolutely shocking what's going on. So let's go ahead and get into the news. As we said before, Carrier 411 has gone off the rails, implementing new policies and procedures for their membership. One of the first things that they did was last night they issued a email that went out to their members indicating changes to the Freight Guard reports system. In the past, a Freight Guard was able to be removed from a carrier's record entirely. Well, that is now no longer possible. Though Freight Guards can be removed, it's actually termed as deleted, and they are then going to go into a special category available on the profile screen. So you have active Freight Guards, and then you have deleted Freight Guards. What that means is that the Freight Guards will continue to be visible even though they have been deleted. So any Freight Guard that a carrier gets, whether it was an error made by the broker or a mutual decision was made between the broker and carrier to resolve the matter, it doesn't matter at all. Those Freight Guards are now permanent. And I quote, "We just changed the game to protect customers. Freight Guard reports that get deleted will not really disappear. They will be reclassified as deleted. This significant change is because of the behavior of carriers that cause problems, scammers who harass and threaten brokers, and the cottage industry of companies that emerge claiming they can get Freight Guard reports deleted from between $2,000 and $5,000 per report. Freight Guards will exist forever and provide eternal visibility to protect our customers." You know, I know of some groups that charge $2,000 for removing Freight Guards. I've never seen $5,000. Those of you who know me know that I used to provide this service at $500 per report, and only if I was successful in removing it. But clearly, war has been declared on people who try to assist carriers who are seeking to defend themselves from these career damaging Freight Guards. But that is not the only thing that has happened. And believe me, that is in itself significant. And some of the implications that go on with these deleted reports, regardless of the reason why a Freight Guard was implemented, okay, regardless of the reason, whether it is false or not, it can never be removed. Ever. End of story. So brokers, if you have given your brand new agents authority to file Freight Guards, they can file Freight Guards under your name for anything they want, and it will always be there forever, whether it is true or not. Please rethink who has the authority to file Freight Guards on behalf of your organization. Carriers will always have the details of the report against their record, even if the report is listed as deleted, because under deleted reports, only the broker's information is going to be removed, or at least masked. This really adds a whole new level of complication, because now brokers who are seeing these deleted reports are wondering who filed it, and if the individual who filed the report filed a false report, realized it was a false report, deleted it, now they're not held accountable because no one knows who filed the false report. The only thing that's still visible is the false report, which is noted as deleted, but you can still see it. I'm sorry. How does that help the industry? For brokers who see the presence of a freight guard report as a discriminating factor, particularly from your compliance departments, this will now mean that even a deleted report still shows up as a report and can then cause a carrier to be blacklisted by the brokerage, even though the report is still technically no longer active. So there needs to be a lot of discussions internally within brokerages as to how to deal with these reports and to try to determine what kind of liability may exist if these blank reports still exist and these deleted reports then cause carriers to be rejected for loads. It is a mess, to say the least. But again, this is not the only shoe that fell. Here is the other shoe. This is the list of the original accusations that exist within the freight guard system. These are the 12 sins of trucking, as I have outlined in a past video on my YouTube channel, the 12 Deadly Sins of Trucking, which is available on my YouTube channel at Double Broker Bounty Hunters. Enough of the shameless plug. These are the 12 categories that everyone is used to. Unauthorized rebrokering of shipments, cargo held hostage, back soliciting the shipper, fraudulent activity, theft or unjustified loss of freight, in-transit agreement modification, repeat pickup and delivery service failures, persistent canceling, no-show, no-call, canceled after accepting a load, unresolved claims issues, and unethical or deceptive business practices. Now, if that last one isn't a catch-all for everything that a broker could possibly want to penalize a carrier for when they're having a bad day, then the list of 16 new accusations will cover it. So let's get into the new 16 accusations. Here is the list. Let me go ahead and blow that up on the screen for you. Carrier status, DNU, people outside of US and Canada, ID theft, FMCSA data being compromised, harassment or threats, legal threats, actually filing a lawsuit, unauthorized transloading, unauthorized consolidation, refusing or stopping tracking, providing inaccurate or misleading information, providing fraudulent documents, improper or damaged equipment, team load with a solo driver, railing a load, and then finally filing on a bond. Again, any of these new accusations open up a whole plethora of opportunities and options for a broker to, for lack of a better term, stick it to a carrier. Right, wrong, or indifferent. That is what the capability here is. So let's go ahead and break these down because it's very important for everyone to understand what constitutes or what falls under these categories. And this is based off of Carrier411’s website, all these explanations. They are paraphrased. I will say that for simplicity's sake, but the intent and the content is in fact from their website. So let's go ahead and dig into these. Carrier status, do not use, or DNU. Anytime a carrier has their status in a broker's internal TMS marked as a DNU, the broker has the ability now to expand that from an internal disqualification or ban or blacklisting to a industry-wide sanction. Okay, some of the criteria offered by Carrier411 is based on reliability, performance, behavior, compliance, safety, insurance, claims, or even negative feedback. You want to talk about a catch-all. Anytime you want to put a carrier on a DNU and permanently sanction them within your own brokerage, now you can file a freight guard on them and have all the other brokers who are on Carrier411 do the same thing. Yeah, if that's unfair, if that's not unfair, I don't know what is. But I digress. Let's stick to the facts. People outside the US or Canada, Last time I checked, discrimination based on the origin of a person is federally a crime that violates federal discrimination law. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not an attorney. This is when a carrier has personnel, employees, representatives, or operations located outside of the United States or Canada. Wait a minute. Does that mean that carriers should be able to file freight guards on brokers who have agents operating outside the United States or Canada as well? Scammers and fraud schemes other than from other countries such as Eastern Europe, and Carrier 411 does specify these locations for these types of activities. Foreign dispatch services such as out of India or Pakistan, and staffing agencies located in Mexico, the Philippines, or Colombia. Yeah. No, that's not discriminatory, is it? Identity theft. Guys, we have seen identity theft in this industry a lot. But now, brokers can punish carriers for carriers having their ID stolen. This is when an ID of a legitimate carrier is believed to have been stolen or compromised, where scammers steal a carrier's information for the purposes of committing fraud, stealing cargo, or just about anything else you can think of that these scammers do, and can involve an unauthorized change to FMCSA info by the scammers. So something a carrier has really no control over is something a carrier can get a freight guard for. To compound that, they've added the category of FMCSA data being compromised. Now, remember, they listed this as a possible issue on the last category. Well, now it's on this one too. Unauthorized changes made to a carrier's safer listing. This is basically when a scammer steals carrier's information for the purposes of committing fraud, stealing cargo, etc., and involves the submission of falsified MCS 150s to safer that allows the scammers to hijack a carrier's identity. Again, a carrier can be punished by a broker for this and be given an industry-wide sanction when their data gets. Category is harassment or threats. And Carrier 411 is defining that as carrier behavior intended to harass, intimidate, threaten, coerce, extort, or blackmail a broker. And is usually, and they actually say this, it is usually in response to a freight guard report posted against the carrier seeking the report to be removed. And it includes aggressive or harassing calls, texts, emails, stalking, or even showing up in person. So now brokers have the ability to issue an industry-wide sanction against a carrier for, well, trying to defend themselves. At least that's what it seems like. I understand harassment and intimidation and coercion. There's a proper way to do things. Don't get me wrong. But this goes a little far. Legal threats. This is really where it gets interesting. Statements or actions made by the carrier or their attorney indicating the intent to pursue legal action. This is accompanied by demands that the broker takes specific actions or refrains from certain behaviors. And again, this is typically in relation to getting freight guard reports dealt with. This includes cease and desist orders, demands to delete freight guards, demands for payment, or warning of pending lawsuits. So basically, if a broker fails to pay a carrier and a carrier threatens to sue, the broker can issue an industry-wide sanction against the carrier for seeking payment. Filed lawsuits. So not just threatening, but now when you actually file the lawsuit. Again, another freight guard. They define it as a formal legal action taken against the broker by a carrier, or the broker has been served with a lawsuit by the carrier. This may be about a freight guard report against the carrier. Again, Carrier 411 keeps making this about fighting freight guards. Reports are often frivolous and allege defamation, loss of business, and other legal claims. Last time I checked, there have been lawsuits where brokers lost and end up paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to carriers for loss of business over frivolous freight guards, not frivolous lawsuits. So this needs to be balanced here. Another one, and this one, okay, I get this one. Unauthorized transloading. This is when it's an unauthorized transfer of cargo from one trailer or vehicle to another without the explicit consent of the broker. And this does make sense. It includes transferring cargo between trailers, consolidation, changing the power unit out, changing transit modes, changing carriers. Again, if you have to modify what you're doing with cargo, you should be notifying the broker. Okay, that makes a little bit of sense to me. Unauthorized freight consolidation just dives deeper into that as the next category. Again, the unauthorized transfer of cargo from one trailer or vehicle to another without explicit consent. But where this is different is it typically involves cross-docking the cargo in order to disguise or manipulate the shipment to make it easier for scammers to deceive brokers and shippers. Okay, I can buy that. Refused or stopped tracking. Now, I do have an issue with this one. And this is when if a carrier agreed to tracking, but then failed or terminated tracking. If it's something where the carrier explicitly cuts off the tracking, okay, I can buy that. But if a carrier drives into a dead zone where they don't have service on their phone for whatever reason, should they be penalized because they don't have service for their phone along the path that their route may take them? I'm not so sure about that. And this can be include not accepting tracking, disabling or turning off tracking, not responding to emails, calls, and texts, or to provide updates. Another one is providing inaccurate or misleading information. If a carrier provides false, misleading, or deceptive info at any stage of the process, and this could be when we're talking about setting up a carrier, booking the load, picking it up, delivering. If the carrier provides any information that's false or considered to be deceptive, then the broker can now file an industry-wide sanction against them. Providing fraudulent documents, including BOLs, invoices, receipts, COIs, IDs like driver's licenses, permits, weight tickets, rate confirmations, anything that's falsified. Hey, you know what? I can get behind that. I can. But seriously, 16 new categories, and the list keeps going on and on. Rail to load. If a carrier is hired to haul a load over the road using their own equipment, and then when they pick up the cargo, they actually put the trailer onto a train and then have another carrier deliver it when it gets to the other end. Okay, I can buy that for $1 as well, because if the broker's paying for you to haul it along the road, in your trailer, then that's what you should be doing. And this is one of the ones that really bothers me, filing on a bond. Now, this is when a carrier has filed against a broker's surety bond, alleging the broker failed to fulfill contract obligations, but the claim is unfounded. And Carrier411 is very careful here to put that caveat in there that the claim is unfounded, because if a broker fails to pay a carrier and everything was done properly, then the carrier's got every right legally, but by federal law, to file on the broker's bond. So being able to file a freight guard because somebody files on your bond, yeah, that takes all accountability away from the broker and puts it all on the carrier. According to Carrier411, this includes fraud by the carrier belief that they were short paid despite broker terms, dissatisfaction with the broker's service, or misunderstanding of contract terms. So yes, if you file on the bond because you misunderstood something that was in the broker's contract, boom, you get a freight guard. Some of these implications here are absolutely mind-boggling. First and foremost, attorney and non-attorney advocates who represent carriers to negotiate disputes involving freight guards now cause more harm to carriers than just the original report. Hiring an attorney or a non-attorney advocate such as myself to help resolve a freight guard can now result in at least 2 additional freight guards. That would be harassment and legal threats. That is just insane. That basically says that carrier, if you get a freight guard, you are on your own, because if you hire anyone to help you, you will get hit with more freight guards and more sanctions against your company. Freight guards can be applied to carriers for just about anything, even if it's outside of the carrier's control. Freight guards can also be applied to carriers who are exercising their legal rights under federal law, such as demanding payment, which is guaranteed under 49 CFR 377, or invoking the broker transparency law under 49 CFR 371.3. These are protections under federal law that a private entity is trying to say carriers are not allowed to do, and is allowing brokers to then prevent these carriers from doing business because they try to invoke their federally protected rights. There is absolutely no due process for any of these allegations whatsoever. There is no way for a carrier to defend themselves, whether or not the accusation is warranted or not. That is the big problem with all of this. Of course, we can see potential legal challenges that are going on all over social media. You are seeing transportation attorneys and other opinion makers making comments about this. Some of the leading information that's out there right now is that Carrier411, who currently enjoys protection under the Communications Decency Act in Section 230, needs to lose those protections. Now, for those who don't know, Section 230 protects platforms from prosecution for publishing knowingly false postings of members. This is the same law that protects social media from false reports, et cetera, so they can't be held. So, for example, X cannot be held liable if somebody posts something that X knows is false. Well, the difference here is that Carrier411 is actively trying to influence policy on an industry-wide scale. They are not just letting the report post. They are actively fighting to usurp federal authority, which should cause them to lose these protections and then make it possible for carriers to include Carrier411 in future lawsuits. Another thing that can happen is that Carrier411 is also effectively giving members a nuclear level option over carriers, again, with no due process, no oversight, and no accountability. This gives brokers a total and unfair advantage over carriers for literally anything. If a carrier sneezes wrong, they can now get a freight guard and have their company effectively shut down. Why can Carrier411 do this? Because Carrier411 carries a massive following among brokers, a massive market share among brokers who utilize carrier vetting systems, and these reports will be seen by a massive number of people. It will effectively blacklist a carrier across the entire industry and shut them down. One freight guard against a carrier that runs 10 trucks can effectively put 30 people out of work. So brokers, think very carefully before you issue these freight guards, because the implications are real. Whether or not brokers should have that power is something that is definitely being questioned at FMCSA and DOT, as well as at the Federal Trade Commission. For continuing coverage on this issue, check out our live show every Monday, 5 p.m. Central. This coming week on Stop the Scam, Dale Prax from Freight Validate will be on the show. We will be discussing the impacts of this game-changing development and all the other repercussions that may be coming down the line over the next couple of days with regard to Carrier411. I'm John Cantera, the double broker bounty hunter and host of Stop the Scam, and this has been a special report through the Lounge Media Group. We will see you guys when we are live on our show.